Hi, U.S. History. It's Mrs. Hagan. I am making this video to welcome you to Unit 1 about the American Revolutionary War and to give you some information about what I want you to be working on for this week in week 1 and just helping you out. Lots of people had some questions, so I thought I would help everyone all at once. So, of course, this is what our class looks like. I've updated the first slide to show you that you're working on week 1 folder. It's due on Sunday, September 14th. All of the work for the unit is due on Tuesday, September 23rd. That date is important because while you are trying to get each week's work done by the due date, for your attendance, you have until the end of the unit to submit assignments for credit. So if you miss deadlines to get your attendance, you can still get credit for the assignments as long as they are submitted by the end of the unit, which for Unit 1 is due Tuesday, September 23rd. All right, so most of you completed all of the work for week 1, how to be successful in U.S. history. Good job on that. So today we just started Unit 1, the American Revolutionary War. Again, the whole unit is going to be due on Tuesday, September 23rd, which is unusual for us. Usually we end all of our weeks on Sunday night. So I will make sure that I am giving you a reminder on this. But for this week, you're working on the week 1 folder, which is right here, and it's due this Sunday, September 14th. I wanted to show you a few things with that. I'm going to start with this unit overview. So this whole unit is 2 full weeks and then 2 days. So this week is week 1. And today you are studying you're beginning your study guide, which I've had a lot of questions on, so I'll talk on that specifically. Tomorrow, you are going to take Chapter 3 notes and watch the 7 Years' War video, which are both items that you're going to be adding to your study guide. Wednesday, you're going to be working on the French and Indian War web quest, which is an assignment that you'll go in and complete. Chapter 4 notes is what you'll be doing on Thursday, which these notes you're going to be taking right in your study guide. And then you'll end the week on Friday with an assignment about the path to the revolution. So how the steps it took the Americans to get to the Revolutionary War. And then you'll end with a quiz. Then week 2, you're going to be moving on to some information about the Declaration of Independence, the actual start of the war. You'll do a timeline, a 1-pager about the Articles of Confederation, kind of the starting of setting up our government, and then end the week with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. On the 3rd week, on Monday the 22nd, you're going to finish up that study guide, and then on Tuesday, the 23rd, you'll take your summative assessment. All right, let me get you back to this week's work so I can show you what that looks like. A lot of you have already been in here. Way to go. Good job. The study guide, and maybe my screens look a little bit different than yours, but the assignment should look the same. So American Revolutionary War. Here's some information about what we'll cover. The Revolution, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution. So the first thing that you're asked to do is to do kind of a pre-assessment of where you're at with the learning goals. So this unit, we're going to be learning these things, but I want to know, where are you at with these just coming into the class? The last time, at least in ISD 728, you had U.S. history was 7th grade, and you probably learned some of this stuff, but do you remember it? So for each of these questions, it's asking, how well could you do this? How well do you know those items? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 1 is, I don't know it all. A 2 is, I don't get most of it, maybe a little. 3, you get some of it. 4, you get it, but couldn't teach it to anyone, but you get it. And then a 5 is like, you get it and could definitely teach someone else. So all you would do here is to put an X or a check in whatever box fits you and what your knowledge is. And if you have all ones, that's okay. It's just assessing what you're coming in with. And then the assessment at the end of the unit will tell me what you learned. Okay, so then I did have a question about where you get the information to fill out your study guide. Super good question. And I wanted to point out that we're using chapters 3, 4, and 5 for this unit. And you do have access to our course textbook at the top of our page, Unit 1. And then we have all of our chapters here. So you can click on the chapter and get the definitions from there. You're welcome to do some Google searching, but man, there's so much. I don't know if you've been on the internet. Okay, just kidding. But there's just so much on the internet that you're going to get a very broad definition with a lot of information. If you go from the textbook, it's going to give you U.S. history related answers. So that's probably the best way to get your information. And so people who reached out via email like, hey, what do I do? I think that you should spend at least 30 minutes working on do the pre-assessment and then just working on filling in some of the definitions. And I don't want you to copy and paste from anywhere. Read the thing and just summarize it in there. If the definition doesn't go through your brain's filter, then you're not actually taking any of that information in. While the goal is to get the assignment done, like the greater goal is to learn something. So I do hope you learn something, and you'll do that by summarizing, not just copying and pasting. Okay, so I would spend about 30 minutes on that today, knowing that the rest of the week you're going to be working on putting more into the study guide with the other assignments that you're doing. So I'm going to go back to this week's folder. Week 1 right here. So today hopefully you're watching this video. You'll do the pre-assessment, just marking where you're at. You'll spend a little time doing some definitions, and then you will complete the chapter 3, section 4 notes about the French and Indian War. And those notes are going to go right into your study guide. And so where it says right here, French and Indian War, in that slideshow, it's going to tell you what that is. So you could fill that in. Anything else related to that, you can go ahead and just fill in as you're doing the notes. The next day, it doesn't list right here, but according to that guided calendar, you're going to watch the 7 Years' War and Great Awakening video and record notes in your study guide. The French and Indian War web quest is an actual document. Let me click on that so I can show you what that looks like. It has you do different things about the French and Indian War just to bring your learning a little bit deeper. So this first part, you're reading this article and answering these questions. And this article is right here to answer these questions. And then to answer these questions, you're going to go to this website. And yeah, those are just the 2 parts to the French and Indian War web quest. So that should be pretty good. Then you're taking chapter 4 notes, and those notes will go into your study guide. Like, look over your study guide. Anything that's in the chapter 4 notes, complete it. And then the Path to Revolution chart is an assignment that you do. And it is important to take a minute to read the directions. It says using the online text and the chapter 4 notes. So if it's chapter 4 notes, I would use chapter 4 of the online text and complete the chart demonstrating your understanding of the skills of the events that led to the American Revolution. And so it says here, complete the chart, chapter 4, we got the same directions. Please type your answers in blue. All right. So this up here, and hopefully I can take a second just to fill this in so you don't think this is something you need to fill out. Okay, so these are all the things that you're doing, and you're writing your information here. So the first British action is the Proclamation of 1763. In this first box, you are using chapter 4 to figure out the details: who, what, where, when, like what happened, Proclamation of 1763. How did the colonies respond to this British action? What did the colonists do? And then you're classifying their reaction as either something political with the government or some kind of military action. Now you do the same for the Stamp Act, Townshend Act, Boston Massacre, the Tea Act, Intolerable Acts. There we go. Give me a little drink here. I haven't talked this much in a long time. Okay, so that's what you're doing for week 1. A lot of study guide work, and then you're going to end the week with the Unit 1 quiz, and you must get 100%. So if you don't get 100% the first time, retake it and do it again. I hope this helps. Be patient with yourself. Reach out if you have questions.